Hi, I'm John Petersen from the Arlington Institute, and this is PostScript, coming to you from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. Every month here in Berkeley Springs, the Arlington Institute sponsors a speaker series. We call it Berkeley Springs Transition Talks, and it's all about the major kind of transition we as human beings are going on in this planet at this time, where we're moving from an old world to a new world, the beginning of a new era, literally. The emergence of a new human and a new world, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And our guests each month are kind enough to come and have a conversation with us here on PostScript. And this month, Dr. Penny Kelly is with us. Penny is author of 7 different books, including this one on consciousness and energy. And what it explores is the relationship of consciousness and how that our minds and our emotions and our thoughts translate into the physical reality that we see all around us, which, by the way, is an interesting kind of emergent characteristic that many folks who have a position and a reason to have an opinion about this say that the new human that's emerging is going to have this ability to control and access this capability of looking from consciousness and making it kind of causal. Penny Kelly is also probably better known for an extraordinary kind of experience that she had quite a couple of decades ago, where she had a Kundalini experience, which was this unplanned, energetic event that activates and disrupts you in a rather significant way. But in the process, what it did was activate and enable a variety of gifts, often thought of as psychic and sometimes as intuitive, but it allows her to anticipate things in the future, be able to see people on the other side of the world, to be able to smell things on the other side of the world, to hear things, and there's some interesting story. We won't go into that, but anyway, it makes for an interesting kind of life to suddenly have this kind of larger ability to look around. And Penny and I have had long kind of conversations about what's happening in the world and where it's kind of going, and so what in the world's going on?
Well, I think one of the things that people could keep in mind is that if you have a body, that has to be rebuilt every day. Mm-hmm. Has to be renewed, restored.
Yeah, this is
if you have a
conventional
world,
science.
Yeah. If you have a world or a reality system, our world is a reality system.
Right.
That same thing applies. It has to be rebuilt, restored, renewed every single day. And
well, why do you say that? Who says?
Because otherwise it'll disintegrate.
Why is that?
So,
who says?
Because it is your consciousness as well as the material itself, the consciousness in the material, that keeps it all together. If we have
so when you die, that's why everything goes away?
So, well, when you die, you just enter another. You
don't
really
die.
I
understand, but this reality goes away.
No, because there's so many people holding it in place.
Other people?
Other people.
Oh, but your perspective of this reality goes away because you're not making it anymore, right?
Right. Well, because you're not engaging. Although some people don't go anywhere.
This is going to get complicated.
This is going to get complicated. Okay. So the bottom line is, at every single second of every single day, there's a chance for renewal, restoring, and change.
Hope.
And that is where I think the future is. It's in that moment of possible change when you plant a new seed or inject a new energy, and that shifts things and that shifts other things.
So this builds on our previous conversation that says that you can change the future and you can make it become what you'd like it to be.
Yeah.
But it's probably also a combination of the inputs from everybody else that's in this conscious space, right, or not?
Yes, it is. And the fact that everything is conscious. So,
God,
you know,
it's really complicated.
it's holding itself together as much and as long as it possibly can. So if you have a physical reality, certain things will last a certain length of time. You know, my roosters will maybe last 8, 9 years, and then they're gone. My cows will last 10 years.
Right.
14, 15, 20 I think might be the max. So different things will last different amounts of time, unless there's an infusion of energies and the plasma that is that thing is renewed and restored.
But it's a waveform in the plasma, isn't it?
That's
it's
right.
a signature
That's
kind
right.
of configuration in
You
the
got it.
underlying plasma.
Right. So if I'm a whole slew of plasma energies and they get out of tune or the frequencies get off a
Yeah.
little bit, then the system starts to degenerate.
Sure.
Renew that, and the whole thing is renewed.
Good. So how do we get peace in the Middle East?
Oh,
I mean, by extension, we ought to be able to do that,
we
right?
should.
I mean, you can change anything.
You can, but you have to back up to a point where you change the consciousness of the people that
So
are
it's not
having the
just
impact.
you, it's everything else?
It's everything. You have to change the consciousness of everything. You are everything.
I mean, I've got to change everybody in the Middle East in order to get change? I mean,
Well, no.
okay.
Yes and no. You have to change yourself. I think we mentioned that already. You have to stand for and be present to what it is you want to see happen, and then you have to take action. If you never go to the Middle East, you're not going to have a whole lot of impact. You could stand back and say, oh, I'm praying for them. Oh, you know, I'm visualizing something good. But if you're not the main consciousness interacting over there, then you're going to have a very sidewinder kind of effect.
So, you dominate the local space, not
Yes,
the, right?
That's right. That's right.
So,
And little by little, somehow we have to change the way that the consciousnesses interacting in the Middle East are interacting.
this is an argument for community, which says that if you get more and more like-minded people together, that you
That's
can
right.
then shape the local space,
That's right.
not only in kind of obvious and physical
Yeah.
ways, but in this larger kind of...
That's true. You have to have a group. It's really difficult to do it all by yourself. And that's part of the, I think, the teaching of this reality. This is a collective reality, and it is the way that it is because of all of us together. And you can have a reality within the reality. It's a whole bunch of them. The Middle East is a perfect example. Life over there is very different from life in Berkeley Springs.
Yeah,
Or life
Really?
in Lawton, you know.
yeah, right.
So I am really hoping that somewhere along the line we'll begin to raise our children differently, we'll begin to feed ourselves differently, we'll begin to heal ourselves
Well,
differently.
all of that is a natural kind of byproduct of a mind shift
Yeah,
and being
that's
able
right.
to see the world in a different kind of way,
Right.
and therefore influencing the local reality
Right.
in different kind of ways.
Yeah, and let me say this also. If you want to make a paradigm shift, a paradigm is a whole bunch of pieces that all fit together.
That give a coherent kind of sense of reality.
Right.
Okay.
It's a worldview.
Your own, yes, a worldview, a
Yeah.
personal worldview.
Personal worldview. And then there's the collective. And the collective is kind of, it agrees.
Well, the clustering, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you can change the medical system. You can change the agricultural system. You can change the government. You can change all sorts of pieces. But if you don't change all the pieces, you don't have a congruent
Right, of course.
paradigm. And the piece that I think has been missing has been the science piece. We don't have a new science. People don't understand the new science and what that means about
Yeah, but it's
this
coming,
reality.
it's coming. I mean, I've just come from a couple conferences that are
Yeah.
started, that talk specifically, and they're scientists who are
Right.
working in these kind of
I know, and I still talk with people who say, what is that about? Never heard of it. For me, it's 20 years old. And Dr. Levengood, the scientist that I worked with, said at one point, it takes 50 years for an idea to trickle down.
Well, that's been the case
got it.
in the past, but with
Yeah.
the internet, what it's doing is shortening this down
That's right.
and accelerating the whole process. So you're
Right.
working up this,
Yeah.
literally an exponential curve that's going
Hockey
from
stick.
one era to a new era.
Right.
And so that's what's so interesting about this series, and why we've got you, happy to have you with us, is what we're talking about is this transition
Right.
from the former era to a new one, which, by the way, operates on a set of principles and a paradigm
Right.
that is dramatically different
I
from the
know.
present.
I know. And what we're discovering is that the piece that's lagging is the consciousness of the mass
Right.
of people. They aren't able to move up that exponential
But the
change.
internet is providing the neural system,
Yes, it does.
the global neural system, to allow increasing numbers of folks to get like-minded folks, and on both sides of the equation, by the way, to
Right.
get together and be able to provide the kind of the
Yeah.
emerging.
Yeah, and it does help a whole lot. I think very, very slowly. People are getting past what I'll call the junk
Yeah.
that's out there. They're looking for meat or vegetables if you're vegetarian.
So what, the vegetables. So what are the vegetables of the future? So where are we going? What starts to come up here? Carrots?
No, that too.
Yeah.
I think the pieces are that, for me, and so
Yeah.
I'm just going to speak
Yeah,
for
right,
myself,
right.
that
Don't speak for me. Thank
yeah,
you.
okay.
Thank you.
You can't hold higher consciousness if you're not really, really healthy. Even if you're pretty healthy, you can only take that consciousness so
Right.
far. And so, and the minute you get sick, your consciousness dips a little,
Yeah.
and you can feel that, you can hear that, et cetera. So we need to get really healthy. You can't get,
So what does that mean in the future of healthcare? Where are we going in terms of all of this?
the future of healthcare, oh my. In the future, what I've seen is that you lay on a table, and there's this, it kind of looks like an x-ray table,
Yeah.
and they put this thing, on this board, I'll call it a board, underneath you, and it's a map of your particular energy system.
Okay.
And then they put another one over top of you, because you fit in this little slot.
Right, right.
And then they run lights through these boards that drill down into the system, resets the entire body,
Wow.
and it's all reset at once. You're perfectly healthy. Stuff just gets erased. The other thing I've seen is that you stand in front of a mirror. You know how we brush our teeth in the morning and we comb our hair, we try to get all pretty, etc. And in the future, we have these mirrors, and you stand in front of the mirror and you look at your energy system, your
Right.
lights. And if there's a spot where you're just spitting out energy, or
Right.
there's no energy moving, it's dark, then you know right there something's wrong, or you're too
This
cloudy.
is kind of like seeing an aura, the energy system of yourself.
Yeah,
right?
that's all mapped out, or that's all, the technology is available to be able to see that, so that you're tracking your general health on a daily basis. And nothing ever gets away from you.
So now the underlying theory of this is that everything is energy, right?
Everything is energy.
Everything is energy.
Right.
And so therefore, if you can in some way intervene in the underlying energetic
That's right.
signature that produces not only you and me, but all of the component parts
That's
of
right.
us.
The plasma
All of
holds
which,
the matter.
all of which, every organ has this signature,
That's
this
right.
unique signature.
Yeah.
And because it's energy, it
Yes.
responds to light, and it
Yes.
responds to
Sound.
sound.
Yep,
And so all of these things
And
can
heat
come
and
together.
cold.
And heat and cold.
yep. Yeah. These big, these lights that I watched restoring things were not just used to
What are you
restore
talking
people.
about, watching lights? What is this?
Well, I can see the lights around people
Oh,
and
okay.
around things and animals and houses, etc. So the thing about the future was that you could get a little piece of an old house and you could restore the signature of that house and it would completely rebuild itself right in front of your eyes. The same was true for animals, for trees. It was an amazing, we're headed toward a time when we can manipulate frequencies to produce matter. One of the things that I saw in the future was this, I called it a manifestation chamber, but it was a chamber in which the frequencies, the plasmas, the fields, could be orchestrated. And what they were building were these pieces of house that were big, thick pieces of glass. They had like 8 layers. Each layer did something different.
Right.
One insulated, one collected
Right.
light,
Yeah.
etc. So we're moving into a time where the technology is different. The education system of the future is all done on the web, all of it.
So essentially, you have here a system, if you want to think of this kind of from systems point of view, that can be internally and externally influenced. That is to say, internally
Right.
by the consciousness, by your own mind,
Right.
which in kind of Dr. Joe Dispenza terms is the placebo effect that says that you change your mind about things, or if
That's
you
right.
believe something's going to happen, it will happen. From an
hold
external point of view, it's all energy. And
Yes.
so whether by light or by sound or some other kinds of things, hence your system that you put
Right,
somebody
the
inside and
healing
you change the light, then you can also kind of do healing. You can help people
Yeah.
from that point of view.
Yeah.
And that's the leading edge of energy therapies and that are popping up all over the
Yes.
place.
Yeah, the energy medicine that was poo-pooed 25 years ago is just a figment of people's imagination, now has a scientific basis with the advent of plasma theory, plasma physics, and an understanding of gravity as one end of the electromagnetic spectrum. You have gravity and you have magnetics. So gravity pulls in, magnetics pushes out. So everything has been simplified in some ways, and so now we have this entirely new science. You can take something and imprint it with all of the frequencies of all your favorite foods, all your healthy foods, and just have a teaspoon of that and you have everything you need. You can just do that directly, just take in the energy directly. What are we going to do with all of our world-class chefs? So things like that.
They'll figure out things to do. But I mean, what you're
Right.
talking about is kind of manifests itself in many other kind of areas. I mean, there's scientists in Russia, for instance, who have been able to essentially take the DNA signature from
Yes.
tadpoles or something, from frogs,
Right.
through a laser,
That's
shine the
right.
laser on it, and then transfer it over into another a salamander, I think it was.
I think so.
And provide that basic signature information into the salamander, and the salamander then grows and becomes a frog.
That's right. Because everything is light. And the signature of that light carries the information.
Right.
And that information is what you are. You and I are
Yeah.
information.
And what science is finding is that the lowest level in the cells and the DNA and everything operate at light.
That's right. That's right. So, we're coming to, I think, a time where this might get me in trouble, the kind of government we have
Yeah.
is probably going to be superseded by something totally
It's inevitable.
different.
Everything changes.
Yeah,
The economy,
everything
everything is going to change.
Yeah, the
Science
economy.
changes. Yeah, everything.
Right.
And that's
So-
the nature, by the way, of this transition, and why
Yeah.
we're going to a new place, and why.
Right. Manufacturing is different.
Sure.
Trade is different. Everything. The way we raise our
So
children.
tell me a little bit about what you think about. Pick one.
About trade, I'm very interested in the trade of the future. We go through stages, but eventually there isn't any real trade
Because we can all manifest
That's
whatever
right.
we need. Yeah.
Because everybody is busy, and you see the beginnings of that. When I was looking at when I was in the future, and I was watching them create these plates, these 8-layered pieces of glass that were used to build houses.
Right.
There were stages, and the first stage of that development was the 3D printer.
Right.
And they started fiddling with that, and then pretty soon they figured out that, if we could create a field around that print head, that those things being printed would be able to adhere to one another in a way that they wouldn't normally.
So you talk to them and you ask them. Kinda.
Well.
No. But I mean, the net effect is kind of what you're trying to do.
It's very similar.
It's changed the kind of the communal kind of relationship.
So let me say something about the future. What about the human? The human being is becoming very different.
Right.
So you come to this place where you begin to put science together in a very interesting way. So you have a hydrogen particle. It's just a sphere.
Right.
It has a basic amount of energy.
Right.
Just enough to help it hold together as a sphere. If you boost the amount of energy that sphere can handle,
Okay.
it will change shape.
Sure.
And it will have different characteristics and different functions.
Right.
So if you boost that again, it changes again. And each time, and there's at least 5 levels of boosting that we know about. So each time that you get a boost, you get a change in the capacity of that substance to interact consciously with the things around it. So if you have, let's say...
So what's the boost? When you say boost, what do you mean?
You boost the amount of energy that...
How do you do that? What do you mean? What is that?
With electrostatic fields and electromagnetics.
Okay, that's how you do it in the laboratory. Can you do it?
You can do it with consciousness.
You can.
I think, yeah, if I could say it like this, let's go back to Kundalini for a minute.
Yeah.
So what caused that? What happened that
Right.
I had this massive energetic event in the
Right.
body? It was a moment when I was totally present, totally open. All my guards were down. No, I wasn't anywhere else. I wasn't doing one thing and thinking something else.
Right.
So let's just postulate that there are these massive flows moving through the universe.
Right.
And you are a system that holds yourself together using certain principles and energies.
Right.
When all of your system guards go down, your shields go down, to use a Star Trek term, then those massive flows will flow through you.
Ah, wow.
So that energy is always present.
And available.
And available. I think we could boost, and everybody could have a Kundalini experience, and it would change their consciousness, and I think we could do that using plain old electricity. Just plain old.
Well, I've just come from a conference called the Electric Universe Conference, which argues that everything, of course, is electric, and that, in fact, would support
They
it.
just don't understand the connection between consciousness and that electricity.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but they're right on track. The electric universe is great. So if you can boost a metal from a S level to a P and then a D and then an F and then I forget what the 5th one is, you change the consciousness of that metal, why wouldn't you then use that conscious metal?
This really sounds weird, of course, changing the consciousness of the metal.
Well, you change the energetic, signature.
Well, I understand.
When you change the energy, you change the consciousness.
I know what you're saying. I'm just trying to say that...
Okay, let me just
finish. Go, please.
Okay, so, and then we'll come back to it, because it is different.
Okay, yeah.
But why then wouldn't you use that very conscious metal to build your airplanes and just tell it to go where you want to go?
How nice.
Or your car, your spaceship, or you talk to your toaster and say, hey, make me a piece of toast. Why wouldn't all of that consciousness just operate naturally? So we'd live in a different world. And the human would be changed as well. Why isn't everybody clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, clairnascent, clairgustant?
I don't know.
Because, because they don't have enough energy.
They don't. So
They don't have enough
just
energy.
Gotta get energy.
So it's a matter of the more energy you can channel through you or hold, the more frequencies you can access.
There you go.
And the more frequencies you can access, the more it changes your consciousness.
God.
So my
What a
range.
what a nice place to end.
Okay. Yes.
It's been so nice to have you with
Thank
us,
you.
Penny Kelly. Dr. Penny Kelly is an author and a speaker and an advisor and consultant, and we're pleased to have her with us here on PostScript. I'm John Petersen, and we're coming to you from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia.